Hello! You're watching movie snapshot scenes, and this is the summary of The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The Fall and the Pursuit. Darkness looms over Middle-earth as the Fellowship stands broken. Frodo and Sam venture alone toward Mordor. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli hunt the Uruk-hai, and Merry and Pippin remain prisoners of Saruman's forces. Yet, deep in the abyss of Moria, a battle still rages. Gandalf plummets through the chasm, locked in combat with the Balrog of Morgoth. Fire and shadow clash as they fall, striking against the rock walls of the underworld. At last, they crash into a vast underground lake, extinguishing the Balrog's flames. But the battle is not over. They ascend to the peak of the mountain, where Gandalf strikes down his foe. Victorious, he collapses, his spirit drifting beyond time. Meanwhile, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli race across the plains of Rohan, tracking the Uruk-hai who have captured Merry and Pippin. The relentless pursuit drains their strength, yet they refuse to falter. As they travel, they notice a change in the land. Rohan is in turmoil. Villages burn, and fear spreads among its people. Saruman's war has already begun. Merry and Pippin, bound and bruised, remain defiant. The Uruk-hai march toward Isengard, but their journey is interrupted. In the dead of night, a band of Rohirrim warriors, led by Éomer, ambushes them. In the chaos, the hobbits escape into Fangorn Forest, where something ancient stirs among the towering trees. At dawn, Aragorn and his companions find the slaughtered Uruk-hai, but no sign of the hobbits. Their only clue leads them into Fangorn, a place whispered about in legend. Within its depths, they encounter an impossible figure, Gandalf, reborn as the White Wizard. He has returned, stronger than before, and with a new mission: to rally Rohan against Saruman's growing army. With Gandalf leading them, they ride toward Edoras, Rohan's capital, where King Theoden has fallen under Saruman's spell. Time is running out. The forces of darkness move ever closer, and war is on the horizon. The battle for Middle-earth has only just begun. Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and Gandalf ride swiftly across the plains of Rohan, their destination clear: Edoras, the Golden Capital. But Rohan is a land in decay. The people suffer, and their king, Theoden, has grown weak, his mind poisoned by Saruman's influence. Wormtongue, a sinister servant of Isengard, whispers lies into the king's ear, ensuring his will remains broken. As the travelers arrive at Meduseld, the great hall of the king, they are met with hostility. Guards under Wormtongue's orders attempt to disarm them, but Gandalf, with a mere flick of his cloak, hides his staff, a weapon of power. They are granted an audience with Theoden, who sits hunched and aged beyond his years, his once proud eyes dull and lifeless. Gandalf wastes no time. He confronts the king and calls forth Saruman's influence, his voice booming through the hall. Theoden groans in pain as an unseen battle rages within him. Saruman, speaking through him, resists, but Gandalf's power is stronger. With a final command, Gandalf casts out the dark sorcery. Theoden gasps, his eyes clearing, and suddenly he is himself again. The shadow over Rohan is lifted. Freed from his curse, Theoden stands, regaining his strength. Anger swells within him as he turns to Wormtongue, the traitor who had manipulated him for so long. The king throws him from the hall, banishing him from Rohan. Wormtongue, humiliated, flees to Isengard, where he will grovel before Saruman once more. But though Theoden is restored, the danger has not passed. The Rohirrim are scattered, and Saruman's army marches upon them. Gandalf urges Theoden to ride to war, but the king is reluctant. The wounds of his people are fresh, and he fears for their survival. Instead, he chooses to lead them to Helm's Deep, an ancient stronghold where they might find safety. As the people of Rohan prepare to leave, Aragorn senses that this is only a temporary refuge. War is coming, and there will be no hiding from Yet Gandalf, seeing what must be done, rides off into the distance, promising to return with aid. As the company departs for Helm's Deep, dark clouds gather on the horizon. The battle is near. The people of Rohan flee toward Helm's Deep, their only hope for survival. King Theoden leads them, but the journey is long and treacherous. The weight of war hangs heavy over them. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli ride alongside the king, knowing that Saruman's army is already on the move. Far behind them, in Isengard, Saruman stands atop his tower, watching as his war machine awakens. 10,000 Uruk high, the deadliest warriors ever bred, march toward Rohan. They are unstoppable, relentless, and driven by one purpose: to destroy Helm's Deep and exterminate the Rohirrim. Saruman believes victory is inevitable. As the refugees press on, they face their first taste of the enemy's wrath. Warg riders, savage beasts mounted by orcs, descend upon them. Chaos erupts. Theoden's men fight to protect the defenseless, but the wargs are ferocious. Aragorn battles fiercely, cutting through the enemy, but he is thrown from a cliff during the fight. Believing him dead, the company reaches Helm's Deep in sorrow. The fortress, an ancient stronghold carved into the mountains, has withstood countless sieges, but never against such an overwhelming force. Theoden, now fully himself again, prepares his people for war. He believes they can hold the fortress, but Aragorn's absence is a deep loss. Yet hope is not lost. Aragorn, battered and bruised, survives the fall. He stumbles through the wilderness until he sees something terrifying: Saruman's unstoppable army marching toward Helm's Deep. Weak but determined, he rides back to the fortress to warn them. When he arrives, the people rejoice, but his message is grim. War is upon them. Inside Helm's Deep, preparations begin. The old and young take up arms. Legolas and Gimli prepare for battle. Aragorn tries to convince Theoden to call for aid, but the king refuses. He believes no one will come. The rain begins to fall. Thunder rumbles. In the distance, torches light up the darkness as Saruman's army arrives. The battle for Rohan is about to begin. The storm rages as 10,000 Uruk high stand before the mighty walls of Helm's Deep. Rain pours down, drumming against armor and stone. King Theoden, clad in battle-worn armor, watches from the ramparts, his face grim. His warriors, outnumbered and weary, tighten their grips on their weapons. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli stand ready. Theoden's last hope is that the walls will hold. A lone Uruk steps forward, pounding a spear against the ground. A deafening roar follows as the army of Isengard bellows in unison. Then, silence. Tension thickens in the air. Suddenly, an arrow flies from the walls, striking an Uruk in the neck. The enemy howls in fury. The siege begins. Saruman's forces charge, hurling ladders against the walls. Aragorn and Legolas fight atop the battlements, cutting down Uruks as they try to climb. Gimli battles fiercely, wielding his axe with deadly precision. The elves of Lothlorien, sent by Elrond, fight alongside them, but the enemy is relentless. Then comes the greatest blow. A blast shakes the deeping wall. Saruman's forces, using black powder, breach the defenses. The Uruks flood through the gap, slaughtering the defenders. Theoden's forces are overwhelmed. Inside the keep, Theoden's hope fades. "Is this how it ends?" he mutters. But Aragorn refuses to surrender. "Ride out with me," he urges, "for Rohan, for your people." Theoden's despair hardens into resolve. They will not fall without a fight. As dawn nears, the defenders prepare one last charge. The gates burst open as Theoden and Aragorn ride into the enemy ranks, swords flashing. The battle seems lost, until suddenly, a horn echoes through the valley. Atop the ridge stands Gandalf, shining in the morning sun. Eomer and his riders have returned. The Rohirrim charge down the slope, crashing into the enemy like a storm, scattering Saruman's forces. The tide turns. The Uruks, trapped between the riders of Rohan and the walls of Helm's Deep, are defeated. As the sun rises, the battle is won, but the war is far from over. Sauron's gaze now turns to Gondor. While the war rages in Rohan, Merry and Pippin find themselves deep within Fangorn Forest. After escaping the Uruk-hai, they have taken refuge among the towering trees. But they are not alone. Treebeard, the eldest of the Ents, discovers them. The great ancient shepherd of the forest listens to their tale, but he and his kin are slow to action. The hobbits plead with him to rise against Saruman, whose armies have burned the forests of Isengard to fuel their war machines. But the Ents are reluctant. They do not see this war as their own. Instead, Treebeard carries them through the forest, seeking wisdom from his brethren. Days pass, and the Entmoot, a gathering of Ents, deliberates. Merry grows frustrated. "We must act," he urges, but the Ents refuse. The hobbits are devastated until Treebeard takes another path. As he walks through the woods, he stumbles upon the devastation of Saruman's war. Vast stretches of forest cut down, ancient trees reduced to ash. A deep, sorrowful anger awakens within him. His booming voice echoes through the valley. The Ents go to war, and so the great trees march. A mighty host of towering Ents strides toward Isengard, their deep voices rising in fury. Saruman, watching from Orthanc, the Black Tower, realizes his mistake. He has underestimated the wrath of the forest. The Ents crash through the gates of Isengard, smashing orcs, toppling towers, and tearing down Saruman's war machines. Water is unleashed as Treebeard commands the dam to break, flooding the stronghold and drowning what remains of Saruman's forces. From his tower, Saruman is powerless. His once great armies lie in ruins, his weapons destroyed. The dark power of Isengard is broken. As the floodwaters settle, Merry and Pippin watch from the wreckage. They celebrate with ale taken from Saruman's stores, a small moment of joy in the midst of war. But far away, in the lands of Mordor, a greater darkness looms. Sauron has set his sights on Gondor, and the final battle draws near. As war spreads across Middle-earth, Frodo and Sam continue their treacherous journey toward Mordor. The weight of the One Ring grows heavier on Frodo, draining his strength and clouding his mind. Sam, ever loyal, watches over him, fearing what lies ahead. The road is perilous, and food is scarce. As they navigate the rocky terrain, they realize they are being followed. A shadowy figure creeps behind them. Gollum, the creature corrupted by the ring. Desperate to reclaim his precious, he stalks them through the night. But Sam is no fool. He and Frodo ambush Gollum, capturing him in the darkness. The wretched creature writhes and begs for mercy. Frodo, seeing Gollum's suffering, recognizes the twisted fate that awaits him should he fall to the ring's power. Instead of killing him, he shows pity and offers a bargain. Gollum must guide them to Mordor. Bound by his old ties to the ring, Gollum agrees. He leads them through the dead marshes, a cursed land filled with ghostly corpses trapped beneath the water. Strange lights flicker, luring travelers to their doom. Frodo, entranced, almost falls into the murky depths, but Sam saves him just in time. Beyond the marshes, they reach the Black Gate of Mordor, a towering fortress swarming with orcs. The path seems impossible, but Gollum, terrified of entering. The Black Gate whispers of another way, a secret path through the mountains. Reluctantly, Frodo agrees, and they head south. Along the way, they encounter Faramir, a captain of Gondor and brother to Boromir. Faramir learns of the ring and is tempted to take it for Gondor's defense. But unlike his brother, he resists. He releases Frodo and Sam, warning them of the dangers ahead. As they continue their journey, Gollum's two sides battle within him. The twisted creature plots betrayal. He leads the hobbits towards Cirith Ungol, where a monstrous terror awaits, Shelob, the great spider. Unaware of the trap being set, Frodo and Sam move deeper into the shadows of Mordor. The final steps of their journey will test their strength, their trust, and their very souls. The war is far from over, and the fate of Middle-earth hangs by a thread.